miles going, but B, I miss so much, and it kind of, yeah, it doesn't work for me. Yeah, the crooked house metaphor of a rocky marriage. And do I think of the house as a character or crooked? Yeah, it's really interesting because it was such a surprising element of the book, you know, this whole kind of like horror element that came in, and with Lily and sorry, I'm blanking on their daughter's name, but you know, you always think with these things, are they all a figment of your imagination, or are you more susceptible to you know, viewing this? I do think that she was, you know, cracking up to a certain extent, that the pressures and the things that she had let go of, and probably postpartum, I think all of these things were compounding. But I do think there was probably something in that house. Yeah. What are my thoughts about relationships affecting your identity, both spouse and children? Well, I don't have children, so I can't speak to that. I do think when you connect your life with another person, and you know, I've had a few long-term relationships in my life, I do think there is a certain, and I used to be bad at this when I was younger, and I think it, you know, I spent a couple of years in my early 30s single, and it was the best thing I ever did for myself, because I think I used to lose myself in relationships, and I think that that's quite a common thing that people do. But I think because I had those years being single, I sort of was able to change certain patterns and habits. But anyway, I think it happens. I think in certain extent you have to make a compromise about a lot of things, right? Two people want to go down a road. One person wants to go that way, one person wants to go that way, and you have to figure out a way of going down this road together. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. I think it's a thing where you constantly have to communicate and make sure that, you know, you can't just assume that somebody's something somebody said a year or two ago is going to be the way that they are always going to want certain things. You know, I think people change, and people circumstances will change how you feel about your life or how you feel about things, and so you have to constantly make sure that you're checking in and being like, okay, are we still on the same path together? Like, are we still wanting the same things? Like, let's make sure that this is what we both want. So there you go. That's my 2 cents on that. Somebody's asked me quite a few times, what do I think of the title of the book? I like the title of the book. I think it is very much, you know, these are situations a lot of people can relate to. And I think that that's sort of the tragedy of it, right? That everyone in their 20s has these beautiful dreams for what their life is going to be. And it's not that, I think that the thing is to realize that your dreams have to change in some ways. Or do they? I don't know. I mean, sometimes I just think that, you know, inevitably life doesn't turn out exactly the way you want it. And, you know, not every single thing is going to work. And instead of viewing that as a failure, I guess it's important to try and realize that, okay, like, well, it didn't work out exactly how I thought, but how can I make what I have really beautiful? And that's really hard. I think that's what we all have to try and do. GCJC 1888. They were insisting on their youth, question mark. I mean, I think it's hard to let go of I don't know, because what does it mean to let go of your youth? I mean, I think you have to retain a certain youthfulness, and there is no rules to how you live your life. I think that's also one of the things that I loved about this book is this idea of, well, not everything, Melissa and Stephanie have very different ideas on what it is to be a woman and what it is to be a mother and what it is to be a wife. And, I think this idea of you have to let go of your youth and settle down, and I think that can be in and of itself a trap in some ways, because you're assuming a kind of role that maybe you don't have to, and maybe people do let go of things because they think they're supposed to act in a certain way. Okay, let's see. More questions. What's your t-shirt? I'm trying to figure it out. My t-shirt is dirty. It says Bua. It's a lovely bar in New York that is owned by my lovely friend Mark and some other people, and it's on, I'm going to forget, it's in the East Village. I'm going to forget which street. God, that's terrible. 10th Street? In the East Village anyway. It's a very old t-shirt, but it's an oldie but a goodie. For the Loving of Glasgow said, I love the quote about relationships being like a diamond. They just need to be polished again. Yeah, I like that one too. There's a couple of other quotes that I liked. Why don't people live the way they're supposed to live? It should be the easiest thing in the world. And I guess that goes back to the idea of not falling into traps about having to conform to certain ideas, I guess. What else? I thought the whole quote about football was very funny. How football, I like football, so I also agree with the fact that Hazel was like, women like it too. But the whole sex and football analogy I thought was quite funny, and I've got very itchy nose for some reason. Did I already know the author? No. I was, like I said at the beginning, I was in my bookstore. I love to just go and ramble in bookstores, and it's one of the things I'm missing quite a bit right now, but I love, especially when they've got staff recommendations or staff picks. Two of my LA bookstores that I'll give shout outs to, Spotlight in Los Feliz and Book Soup in West Hollywood, have always great staff recommendations. And it was just something about the cover that really struck me and drew me in. And what I've been trying to do, it was on my bookshelf for a while. It was on sort of like to read list. And what I've been trying to do is I want to alternate with this book club, female, male writers. And I think it's really important. What I've been trying to do is pick writers from different backgrounds, different ethnicities. And my plan was for this next book that we're going to read, my plan was to go outside of the UK and outside of America. But given everything that's happened in the last week or two, I thought it was really important for myself to head back to America in terms of what I'm reading and read more African-American writers. And I'm going to pick a male writer this week because obviously Diana is female. And the week, I keep saying week, it's month. But I will, after this, I want to start going to further field and other countries in Europe. India, who has some of the most amazing writers. I love Indian literature. South America. And I just want us all, if you are happy enough to come along on the ride with me, to start expanding our horizons with the people we read. And one of the things, actually, when I was trying to choose this next book, that I discovered, to my quite disappointment, was that so few African American writers, so few of their novels are translated in multiple languages. Most of them, if they were translated, into Spanish. Some were translated into French, but very rarely were they translated into both, and very rarely were they translated into all. Obviously, some of the people like Toni Morrison or Maya D'Angelo or Alice Walker were, but I feel like, if, a lot of you probably have read them, and if not, I recommend it. I haven't read all of their stuff, but they're really good. So what I'm going to tell you now is what we've chosen, or what I've chosen, and I'm probably going to butcher his name. So it's Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me. And I'll put it up. I didn't actually receive my book in time. So I thought also, when I was kind of going through, I thought there's a BBC Music radio show called The Chain, where every song has to have some sort of relation to the last one. And I feel like, because Ordinary People was somewhat of a companion piece to There's Something Wrong with Fleischman, I thought that this book is sort of a companion piece in some ways, at least I haven't read it yet, but from the description, to On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. That was a letter from a son to a mother, and this is a letter from a father to a son. So I figured that was kind of a nice little connection that we could have. So I think that, I don't know, have you any last few questions for me? And do I know some Brazilian writers? This is the other thing. I love suggestions. So if you guys have suggestions for me, I am more than happy to write them in the comments on the next Instagram post. And we can do some chooses. Paul Coelho, he's Brazilian. I think I read all of his books when I was a teenager, or whatever ones were out. So let me see. Where is, sorry, everything's being very slow. Who was my favorite character? I suppose that's a good last question, maybe. James Baldwin, yes. Love, actually, he's amazing. Who was my favorite character? I mean, it had to be sort of Melissa. I felt like we got to know Melissa the most. I kind of feel like she was the central character, and as someone who has been somewhat of a roaming soul in my life, maybe I connected with her the most, I think. Well, yeah. So, I think, hello from Dubai, hello. I think that's it. These questions don't come up in like timeline. Maybe I can do that. No, don't want to turn them off. I just want them to come in as they're coming in. And here's the last thing, because somebody just asked, do you think Michael and Melissa could have prevented the breakup of their marriage? I'm holding out for that they get back together. I'm just going to say maybe in a year, I'm going to be a bit like Alice and I'm going to be like, yeah, they just need time. Melissa needs to sort her head out and maybe they'll come back together. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I love having these weird one-sided discussions with you all. Because I just love to talk at myself. But no, and now that I've seen there's a question button, it's just we're learning as we go along here. But yeah, so thank you very much, and I will do our next chat the beginning of July. How is it already almost July? What? And I hope you all get to read the next book. I think it's incredibly important that everybody try and understand what's going on in the world right now. And doing that by having empathy and compassion and looking at themselves and looking at their own circles and their own workplaces and finding out where they can do better. And I think we all can. And, I'm trying to listen as much as I can and read as much as I can and understand where I can make a difference. And so I would urge you all to do the same in your own lives, and let's make this moment a real positive spark that lights a fire that is going to be known for the rest of history as the moment that created equality, true equality for people, because that's what we need. So with that, sending you all love. Thank you for joining, and I will talk to you beginning of first week in July. Okay.